Mhm. Got it. Alrighty. So let me share my screen. And take you on a little bit of a trip into our past where so first, where are we coming from? Because we didn't want to be in this whole metaverse thing in the first place. Manon, were you also in our 2019 edition? I think so. Yes, you're in this picture somewhere, right?
I think so, but I don't remember which. I don't remember the years. I've been there twice.
Yeah, and I see Jarno is also participating tonight, and he's here somewhere as well, I think. So this is where we are coming from. As you already mentioned, Odyssey is known for the biggest physical hackathon in Europe, and we worked with corporates and governments and NGOs from all over the world to develop a really good complex challenge, in the sense that this age and time is defined by challenges that we cannot solve by ourselves, that we cannot solve with one organization, not even one sector. So you need a multi-stakeholder field to even to understand the problem first, which is usually the problem to begin with, because how do you know if you optimize for the right thing? Well, that you can only do that if you have all the stakeholders on board. And then moving forward with that group of stakeholders, working together with the best teams that we could select. So hundreds of teams would apply for this program. It's kind of an incubation program, and then all of that preparation would accumulate into this epic hackathon, basically where over 1,500 people are in this picture. And this was 2019. So that was our last physical hackathon. And what was interesting as well is that we didn't go for the, let's say, blockchain, or let's say database deluxe cases. We went for the public blockchain cases. So quite early on in the development of blockchain and cryptocurrencies, we took a stance that we weren't interested in all the private blockchain stuff, because that really optimizes the status quo, and we feel that there is something really new needed. So we went beyond, let's say, the status quo to operate from a new paradigm, whether that is in healthcare, in energy, in public services, pensions, protecting rainforests or oceans, public safety, you name it, and we've had challenges over the past 5 years. So then, welcome 2020, and enter COVID times, right? So our hackathon would typically be in April. And on February 28th, we had the first known COVID case here in the Netherlands. And then, of course, we are little over a month before the annual hackathon, where we would expect 2,500 people from 60 countries. So it was kind of tense to see how would this COVID thing develop, right? In the beginning, we knew so little, and we saw these images on television, and then so pretty quickly we had to decide what we will do, because this is a production of hundreds of thousands of euros kind of event, and if you sign all the deals, right, then you have to buy everything, obviously. So that we had to decide very early on what to do, and then we took the jump and postponed while there were only 15 known cases in the Netherlands. And then we first postponed to June, and within a month we were like, okay, this is not gonna happen before summer, so let's kick the can down the road one more time and postpone to September. And then we had all these kind of different scenarios, and there was always this scenario D, which was for digital. But we also knew that digital hackathons, they, and pardon my French, they suck, right? They are the opposite of an epic experience where you feel this togetherness and this magic of co-creation, and where you feel that there are people of all walks of life, and that you really have this vibe, so to say, that you are in the same space, and that you're working on something that is bigger than just what your team is building, on even something bigger than what is what your challenge is about. So the structure would be typically 20 challenges and 5 teams per challenge. So that's 100 teams and over hundreds of people to help those teams from all kinds of expertise, right? So you can imagine that the vibe on the offline hackathon was pretty amazing. So doing that online was something I was actually quite reluctant to do. But it had to be one of the scenarios. So in May, we took another jump, because we said, okay, 2,500 people from 60 countries for 48 hours in one factory hall, it's not going to happen in 2020. So we had to go digital, knowing that all the hackathon platforms were kind of idea curation platforms. All the event platforms are completely unsuitable for, right, this intense, hardcore collaborative process that we kind of optimized for optimal outcomes, and all the collaboration platforms are not really suitable to host epic events where you are with at least 2,000 people in the same space, right? So we knew that when we announced in June that the hackathon would be in November 2020, that gave us like 6 months time, and we had to develop something from scratch. Well, what we developed is now known as Momentum. And what we are building at the moment is a open source Web3 Metaverse stack for collaboration. And that's quite a package of words there. So let me unravel that a bit. Some of our clients not really important here. So we have 3 things coming together continuously, by the way. So we're providing a space where people can get together to engage in activities that create value, right? So it's the people coming together that enables them, or that no, I have to say this differently. So it's the people coming together and enabling them to co-create and to create value together and to achieve things together. So our core activity has always been co-creation, collective value creation, as we say it. So it's not what can I build for you, but what can I build with you that creates the magic. And so if we look at the rise of the metaverse, we believe that we are in the age of the flat web right now. It's where we go from pages to pages and tabs, and we click and scroll through these hyperlinks all the time, which is a very flat web. And it's also not really a place where you can meet, right? It's not really live and ongoing. If we look at the metaverse, it gives birth to the web of places, whereas pages host content. Places are like a venue, and venues host activities, right? And yeah, you can debate on the activity of going to a museum to watch content or whatever, but still, it's about the activity that makes a virtual space valuable. So we're moving into the web of places, and we are centering all of the attention on collective value creation. Doing that in a shared experience that is part of the metaverse. So just as it is part of the internet, right? We believe that the metaverse is the sum of not just all the online things that are going on, but the offline things that are connected to that as well. So it's creating this shared experience. And then we can look at, from what paradigm are we developing this? What kind of infrastructure and setup is underneath this all? And that's where we have chosen for Web3 and not Web2 as, for example, as Meta or any of those platforms. So what does Web3 mean for us? First of all, with Momentum as a software stack, anyone in the world can download that when it is launched like this. We're now, let's say, in fully fledged development of this iteration of Momentum, which is still kind of in really early stages, and I will show it to you in a bit. So when it is launched in its beta form, you'll be able to download the software and build your own 3D world. And you can host it yourself. You can host it in a shared cloud environment if you want, but it's just like WordPress, right? You can download WordPress, and within a couple of steps, you have your website live. There's an SDK. You can install plugins and templates, and so with Momentum, you'll be able to create your own 3D world and host all kinds of activities in there. So that's the open source part. And then there is the crypto economic infrastructure that enables you to become part of, let's say, the crypto space and of the social network. Well, what does that mean? So first of all, we believe that you'll be able to own your 3D world. So you won't own Meta, right? But you will own your own 3D world as an NFT. So if you accrue value in that 3D world because of the amazing community or activities that you're building, you can also trade that 3D world with someone else or another organization. So think of this as George Lucas made this amazing world called Star Wars, and then this got sold to Disney, and now it's part of a completely new constellation. And they're continuing to add value to that world, right? Then there will be a native token that will enable you to own your own social network, right? So that's, and of course, I mean, the main goal of Odyssey is to get rid of itself, so that Momentum can be a DAO and govern itself, has a treasury that the community can govern. But that's a step-by-step decentralization process. I don't believe in this mantra or adagium that you have to be decentralized from the get-go. I believe that you can make steps if you're sincere in becoming decentralized, right? And as it is better for everyone involved, including me as an entrepreneur or the team or my co-founders or even investors, yeah, it's a genuine quest to decentralization. So that's a no-brainer to us. So that's kind of what we're bringing together. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That's an interesting question from Lorna.
Yeah, go for it.
Because I know it differs from Second Life, but what are the crucial aspects that make it different from Second Life? And because it is more decentralized.
Oh, well,
But
let me, maybe we can,
also
maybe
in
I can,
experience.
sure. So let me first show you a couple of worlds,
Mhm.
and then we can dive into a little bit more of the details on how this is different. I don't like to compare it to one world or another, right? So you could also ask me the question, how is it different from Meta, and I can give you a long list as how this is different, right? So
Yeah, but also from the context of decentralization.
sure.
What is the
So
added value? Because there are also disadvantages, like finding other niches. For the algorithms to work, you missed the presentation of Zoe, but to find like-minded, you have the algorithms that work based on data. So how will that work in the
sure.
decentralized world, for example?
Yeah. Well, okay. So let me dive into momentum with you all. Here you see our alpha world, which is the same world we use since our hackathon, and that has been a little bit, let's say, expanded since then. And here we can see some people being online as well. So here, for example, who's this? Jeroen. Hi, Jeroen. High five. Nick is over here as well, and I can grab a table with Jeroen. And then you can see my video here. Maybe if Jeroen accepts, then hey Jeroen, just demoing this. So it's easy to make contact. And this is all kinds of features in it. So you can see here, there's all kinds of platforms in it, right? And people use that to structure their communities and their collaborations. So for example, this could be a project space, and this could be a team space. And then you could bundle these projects into a program or portfolio. And it's really easy to build these kind of structures, just like you can build channels and categorize them in Discord, right? And all these platforms I will show you in a bit, they have, you can host all kinds of content in those platforms. So let me see here. Here we have, oh, this is an old one, next level event.
Yeah, you have to go to mine.
Yeah, but I cannot edit that one, and I want to show people how easy it is to, let's say, to add a space to this. So this was our alpha release party way back. We'll add a subspace here, and let's call it this, the meetup. I will save it. And now you can see the platforms that are moving, and every user that is looking at the same thing sees this happening right now. Now I have this space, the meetup, and I can start editing it. I can upload pictures that show into the 3D space as well. For example, a meme here. Let me see. Well, let's do it like this. Here. And now it's already here. So you can, this is kind of the structured way. You can edit your own space, and you can invite people here. So here I can add space members. Some of them I can make admin. In our February release, you can log in with MetaMask. You can give token gated access. So if you have this token, then you can access this space or even see it, because I can make it private as well. You can host all kinds of interesting things here, because I can also throw in a broadcast where you can send a YouTube live stream in there. There's all kinds of tools integrated, like Miro, Google Workspace, so you can instantly collaborate together. You can see my video as well here, and you can imagine Figma and those kind of tools being integrated as we speak right now as well, right? And you can imagine that you can have plugins. It's kind of an operating system where you can have plugins to integrate your own software. Could be a forum, could be voting, could be a DAO, a governance board, could be anything that you want to integrate, and you can structure. We can structure that so you have this world. It's kind of the same thing as a Discord server, but then you can own it. And there's this structure that you can bring to it. So you can see all kinds of, if I go way up high, you can see all kinds of spaces. And in all those spaces, people are messing around at the moment and experimenting. So it's hundreds of spaces at the moment. So now let's go to a different world, which looks entirely different, but operates with the same software under the hood. So one of the differences from Second Life is you cannot just download Second Life and start your own Second Life and just completely build something that looks entirely different. Hey, here's someone else. Hey, Anna. And looks entirely different. But then you can you have this toolbox, right, where you can integrate all those elements in those 3D worlds that will enable you and your community to thrive. So here we have the Sovereign Nature Initiative, which is one of my favorite initiatives in general, I would say. Look them up, sovereignnature.com. And they're basically researching is a very different way humans can relate to nature. What if nature can kind of own itself and can have a wallet, can engage into contracts, and for example, a park in a city. In financial capital, a park costs money, right? It doesn't really have a business model. But in ecological capital and in value, the park could be very wealthy and could even pay taxes to the city, right? It can have surpluses. So if you add different capital types to the economic equation, then it's the same question as that this 100 years old tree in the Amazon rainforest, is it worth more dead or alive? Well, in financial capital, it has proven to be worth more dead, right? It doesn't have a business model that earns financial capital. But if you're able to develop ecological capital that is part of the capital market, then you might end up with a very different equation and different kind of activities that support those economic returns, just not in financial capital, but in ecological capital, which you can account for as you can create a currency that is part of the public domain, right? Cryptocurrency. So anyway, as you can see, this world looks entirely different. I cannot edit stuff here, but underneath it is the same software, right? And again, this is very, very humble beginnings, because you would be able to edit all the things you're seeing here as well. So it's kind of switching between 3D, 2D for things that need productivity, and the 3D environment is really to be able to meet in the same space, to manifest certain structures and results and creativity as well. So this is the top-down structure. We're also working on a sandbox mode where you can build more like Minecraft, right? Where you have all kinds of elements you can place within the parts of the 3D world that that enable you to construct freely in such a space, and doing it together. Just one more world just to show you the differences between. So this is a campus, government-owned campus. We're at the moment bringing live, so that will be live, I think, in early February. So this looks entirely different again, and again, this has the same structure. So that's what we have now, and you can see each of these worlds as a node in the system. And those nodes, I mean, if they are NFTs, they're automatically, they can be connected as well in this social network, right? And it's the same thing with your account. Through the process of, for example, staking tokens, you can build relationships, right?
Can you explain? It's a bit complicated for me, because this works brilliantly. It looks lovely, and it is but for me it is also, and I get some direct messages also with questions. It is WordPress for 3D worlds. So
Yeah.
why would I need NFT tokens? Why would I need blockchain technology behind it? And also thinking about environmental issues. I've encountered Ethereum, where I can buy a piece of art for $5, and then I have to pay a transaction fee of $100. So you probably need a separate chain, and that was all the a question was also about. You have a lot of different blockchains now, also preventing from all the energy use. So I'm wondering what the added value will, as they will all be in the independent platforms in the end, which makes it hard to exchange. So how is your view?
Well, yeah, well, it's actually, it makes it less hard to exchange. Let me
in your face.
Okay, high five. So let me take you a little bit on this Web3 narrative and why we think the ownership. My previous speaker said she didn't care much about the ownership. I care mostly about the ownership. I think it's the most important thing. If there is no ownership, Web3 is a mere upgrade of Web2, which could be nice, but it's not what we really need. So let me take you through 3 steps going from gaming towards our society to the metaverse. Okay. First of all, we have gaming. So in traditional games, let's say the current paradigm, your character is owned by the game. So this sounds maybe logical to you, but you invest a lot of time and money in this character. You buy skins, you play with it, it builds up experience. So it's kind of part of your identity. You cannot take it with you, or you cannot, it's not part of you. It's 100% owned by the publisher. In Web3, it is an NFT owned by you, right? The same goes for your in-game currency. If you make a game in Roblox and you earn Robux, that money is theirs. If you take it out, if you want to take it out, you have to pay over 48% to Roblox, right? So in Web3, that is cryptocurrency owned by you. So then the question is, who benefits, right? The capitalization and monetization is done by the game in Web 2, and in Web 3, that will be you. So the platforms or the games, in traditional sense, their leverage is in the lock-in they have. The more they can keep in, the more they earn, right? But in Web 3, you want to be interoperable, right? So that the boundary to get in and also to get value from other games is the incentive, right? So that's completely different. It's kind of the opposite world, right? Then let's dive into society. It's interesting. Your identity, right? Your passport is not yours. It's owned by the government, right? So you don't have any document that you own where you can prove that you are you. That's so in Web3, you have self-sovereign identity, right? It's not there yet, but there are a lot of people working on it. And hundreds of millions of euros and dollars are being invested into that. Now move over to the currency, right? All the money on your bank account is not owned by you, it's owned by the bank.
But
If
if you're looking
if
at
this is news to you, then this is important news to you. But
but I just read today, something today which made me realize that with the cryptocurrencies, I'm also depending on the chains
of
where they're
course,
running. So there's
yes,
still a
but
party that keeps that
no,
infrastructure.
yes, but that's not a party, right? So unless you put your money in the wrong crypto,
Yeah.
that's not a party. So Bitcoin is not a party. Ethereum is not a party. Even let's say Cosmos and Polkadot are not even parties anymore. They are so decentralized that you cannot call them parties. They are chains, and of course that's where you keep the record of who owns what at which particular moment in time. But if you own your private keys, then the currency is yours. The interesting thing is we give our money to banks, and the banks say, thank you, now we will make money with your money. And the risk is yours. We know this, right? This is not news. So in cryptocurrency, with decentralized finance, you can start earning money with your own money and get the returns yourself. Is it risky? Yes. Why? It's super early days. This is Web 1 early days, is 92, 93, 94. There are 160 or 180 million users in crypto. In DeFi, it's a lot less. So it's super early days, and this is why it's still risky, but it's the future. What if the people can own their own money? That is one of the most powerful transitions. Let's say moving from the 20th century, 21st century to the 21st century. And so with that, you no longer leverage a certain position which you can obtain, like the position of a central bank, of a government, or a bank, because as a bank, you got to have a license and you have to be vetted by the central bank, who is not just a regulator, but also the regulator that controls who gets in and out of the market, right? So that's the position you leverage. And as you know, with crypto, it's all about the community and the way they enable that technology to thrive and to further develop. Okay, so you know that Bitcoin has a very different type of community than Ethereum or Polkadot, and they all have different values and beliefs. It might overlap, but it leads to a very different technology and development pathway and a way of decentralization and such. So if you then enter the metaverse, right, you give your identity to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. Your pages, that will be an NFT owned by you, because you can. You don't have to. I don't care if you do it. Well, I mean, but you can. So if you want that ownership, you can own that. The same is with your currency, which is actually all your connections and likes, right? So what you give to Facebook and Twitter is all of your social capital, all your connections, and everything you value and appreciate. You just give it to them, and they can basically well, use and misuse how they please, as you know, right? So they get to profit. And in Web3, if you pick the right ecosystem, you can own it and utilize it in any way you see fit, right? So then the leverage is no longer the data, because the data should be owned by the people, and as far as they want, right? So it's not about, do you need to own your data? No, can you own your data if you want it? Well, the answer, and the same is with your normal euros and dollars and other currencies. It's not that you per se need to own it, but if you want to own it, then in Web3 you can. And that's the massive shift we're preparing for. And that means that with that, you can build an open metaverse owned by the users, built by the users, further developed by the users, and trusted by the users. So the trust is not in the institute, but in the ecosystem and the infrastructure that they collectively build, maintain, further develop, and utilize. And so that's in my opinion, the completely different paradigm where the future is not owned by institutes, but it's owned by the people, right? And institutes who understand this enable people to thrive instead of themselves.
Shall I think this really helps this overview, Rutger. Thank you. Lorna is commenting also in the chat a lot, so I would like to give her the mic. Lorna, I don't see you on the screen yet, but if you activate yourself, there you are. You're still muted.
Hi, Manon. Yeah, sorry, but it's
see you again.
Yeah. Thanks for that presentation as well. It's I've been flying around the space. Actually, I better switch it off. I've got this weird background noise from Odyssey Momentum. Oh, there. I suddenly realised I'm in this. It's got this weird background noise. Actually, why is that? I'm curious. That sort of...
Well, it's a space noise that will be soon replaced by a nice soundscape. But you can turn it off in the settings if you want.
Yeah, no, I just had to open another window because I logged into it, but yeah, I had trouble navigating, to be honest. But it's fun. No, I was curious because actually years ago now, I think I was looking, it was like 2007, 2008, I did quite a lot of work experimentation in Second Life, and I'm seeing a lot of similarities, but I love your decentralized story. So I understand conceptually that it's different, as in the ownership and the rights, but still that's the underlying thing. I look at it from the experience point of view, and I see, yeah, it's kind of the same. I'm wondering what you think might be different now to what has happened in, you know, that booming hype and sort of dip of Second Life. You know, it was a lot of people getting together.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I, in my opinion, and with all respect for the pioneering work they did, Second Life was kind of a 3D chat box.
Well, it turned into that. It wasn't meant to be done. This is what I'm interested in, because it turned into one of the first places where you got an enormous amount of trolls. But you also got some very interesting communities. We ran co-creation sessions there, but we also met people who literally just had their virtual identities and did not reveal. So there was a whole lot of social creative interaction going on. It was actually super interesting if you spend a lot of time there.
Yeah.
So it was a lot more than just a chat, but I'm curious. Yeah, I've been flying around the Odyssey Momentum space and wondering what you see as it enabling that's going to be different. Is it the decentralization?
No, it's decentralization is part of the infrastructure we're building. So that's not a feature of what the user experiences. I think everything that we are building is so much catered for collaborative activities, integrating all kinds of tools for that. Yeah, I don't see much use cases for that in Second Life, where other than you can meet each other there. But here you can really be productive together and collaborate.
I'm going to argue against that, because we actually ran a series of workshops there, so you can.
Yeah,
but
the idea is a bit of debate, because that's what we learn from.
Yeah,
that's great. I mean, we couldn't host our hackathon in Second Life because we needed a place where you can actually be together with 2,000 people at the same time. It's simply impossible. It's simply impossible. And then to be able to define your own physics is also impossible, right? So being able to fly, being able to determine all the physics of all the objects, including the social physics, is simply impossible in all the other platforms. Whether you talk about decentralized, Decentraland, the Sandbox, VRChat, Somnium, or Second Life, they have prescribed physics, economics, and you cannot build your own world. You can be part of their world, but not have your own world, which is connected in a universe of worlds. And that's a difference.
Yeah, I think it's an important addition that you're free to build your world. Although there are certain standards, there is.
Yeah, but you can adapt the standards if
yeah,
you want. You can. That's why it's open source, right?
Yeah. And
so if you want to fly, you fly. If you don't want to
to
fly, you don't want to fly. If you want to be on an asteroid belt and jump between asteroids, you can.
Yeah.
Well, I invite any example of 3D spaces where you can do that.
Yeah, but I don't want to go into comparing, because
sure, same thing.
That's what you said, and I don't think that's what Lorna
was asked.
Yeah, no, I think what Lorna meant is the principles
sorry.
used. What does it enable extra? Does this answer your question, Lorna?
Not really, but it's really, the answer was really interesting. It makes you think more. It didn't answer it completely, because I think what I was trying to challenge was really what, because the society and the interactions evolved over time, and it was interesting to see in all these different spaces, regardless of whether the tools are open source, decentralized, or what, certain human behaviors and human creative behaviors happen. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. And I'm really, as you know, Manon, I'm super fan of decentralized. And a lot of things you said there were like, hey, this is interesting. But I still have a little bit of doubt as to how much that's really going to enable different types of interaction behaviors. It's going to be great to see. I think one of the main things you said is that you can get lots of people. Does it not lag hugely if you have like 2,000, 3,000 people?
Not at all.
That's very good.
I suggest, Lorna, that we have a meeting there.
Yes,
on
absolutely.
the self-sovereign identity, because I'm also glad that now you have connected to Rutger, because you're one of the few people that I know that's actually working on the UX side, but on self-sovereign identity. So it's good you're connected now.
Yeah, thank you really for the presentation. So yeah, I hope my question wasn't too simple. Sorry.
No.
And
keep in mind, the Linden Dollars are not owned by you; they're owned by Second Life. These kind of differences are huge.
Are you?
Oh yeah, no, I get that, but we didn't. I didn't. Yeah, for me, the money wasn't important. Even the physics was not important. It was actually the interactions, and that's what killed it. Everybody went mad on the world, but ultimately it came down to the human interactions. I mean,
yes, of course,
that's where it boils down to, and how easy that is.
We are in different times at the moment where people are looking for a sense of belonging and also those kind of stuff, right? So communities are founded now on very different principles as well. That's also what previous speaker told about DAOs and things like that. The decentralization of work is also happening at the moment. I think that's also what we are catering for in that regard. So that anyone can create anything and scale it, and be kind of an incubator, a birthplace for DAOs and NFT collectives or communities that get creative and have that economic layer integrated.
Are you planning on a DAO or a different governance principle for this?
Yes.
Can you elaborate, or is that still confidential?
It's pretty far away. We have a lot of basics to cover still. There's a roadmap on our website, odyssey.org, where we first focus now on getting the basics right and doing as much as we can with the community, with people that want to build with us, which is very exciting because you can see our Discord growing. You can see the amount of people using and experimenting with Momentum growing. We see the amounts of worlds that are launched growing. Yeah, in that regard, before it makes sense to be a DAO, there are quite a few steps, but it's definitely on the roadmap.
Okay. I have a question from somewhere answered by Jeroen and others already in the chat, so that's very nice. Alexander, you had a question about Unity.
Yes, hello. As I watched the presentation, and thank you very much for your time and presentation. I saw the Unity engine loading screen. And my question is, as I asked, is this the right tool, as it by itself is not open source for creating a metaverse, or is this just a proof of concept, and then on maybe later phases it will change to some open source libraries?
Well, it's a good question. We actually are building the stack engine agnostic, and we feel that people should be able to pick their favorite engine, whether it's Unity, Unreal. I'm very much looking forward to seeing our 3.js version coming to life, because then the open source stuff is a check. And so yeah, it's our stack is catered to become engine agnostic. And at this moment, we looked at okay, which engine has a great install base and a very low threshold. Unity is definitely there. So it's an important starting point for us, but it's definitely not the end point.
Yes, thank you very much for your answer.
Even in the WebGL, because this is all browser accessible, right? So even in WebGL space, things are going to change with Web GPU and stuff. So it's still moving, a moving space.
I bet that Web3 will boost this upgrade of WebGL.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
Even now we can feel it in Unity engine. Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Good question. On the first sheet, Rutger, I had your picture from LinkedIn that says we're hiring, still hiring. In case someone in the audience is interested to contribute.
Yes, if you're a developer, then back end or front end. If you are into token engineering, if you're into, let's say, I think we're also looking for a head of community growth. Yeah, those kind of things, but mostly developers.
Super.
What kind of developers?
Front end we have mostly React Native. Back end is Golang and Node.js. But Node.js is for, let's say, quick development, and Golang is for everything that needs to be really performant. So we're moving things from the Node.js part to the Golang part all the time. Yeah, that's it. We're also looking for someone, as we are building a peer-to-peer protocol to connect all these different nodes, right? So you have this network of nodes, of worlds that are interconnected, right? And so we're looking also for a specialist who is able to develop such a peer-to-peer, almost like a torrent-like protocol with us.
Super. We're having a bit of fun in the chat because there was a question if you don't need any UX designers.
Well, actually, we are onboarding them at the moment.
At the moment, yeah.
But I mean, if there's any talent walking around and is interested or enthusiastic, then I'm very happy to talk with them. Also on the UX side, of course.
Super. Is there any last question?
Yeah, is there? I created an account, but I have no idea how to move around except arrow keys. Is there something like a help page or?
Yeah, in the right bottom, you see a question mark, and there you can find information on the controls, and on there's a wiki where you can find all the full user manual. And there's also access to our Discord server, and yeah, our community is very helpful in answering any questions. But also, of course, bear with us. This is an alpha release. You're flying around, so it's I keep emphasizing the humble beginnings we are at. But questions, but also suggestions for improvements or entirely new wild ideas that could be integrated or developed are very welcome in our Discord server. We have 2 meetups, public meetups per week. One is more on the, let's say, the beginners demo and flying around and asking questions, and the other one is more like a regular community meetup where we share ideas and share how things are progressing, but also where the community is having discussions on how certain things could move forward, and those discussions are taken to our drawing tables and directly to the roadmap. So we're very grateful for an early stage, but still very active community that I mean, there's 1,000 reasons why this could fail as a project, but we want to build an epic global momentum where hundreds of millions of users are under the belief that if we collaborate better, that we can solve problems better, and we can better utilize the opportunities that we have. So whether that is in making art or music or doing research or education, entrepreneurial activities, innovation, or even policy making and lawmaking, anything you can see as a result of creation, we believe you can do it better if you can do it together. And if you can do it together with anyone in the world and be connected to those people at the same time and build your network from that principle, we believe that can lead to something very powerful that that can nudge things in a good direction. And everyone who believes this as well, and we have more questions than answers, to be honest. I mean, but still, this is an endeavor, and this is why the company is called Odyssey. And what we are building is the momentum together.
Yeah, I have to say
so
that's like last year, my organization also had participated in the hackathon. We had one challenge, and if you're used to being in this space all together, working all together, having it, they were called Jedis. I'm not that much in Star Wars, but you have the experts that are needed with several teams, and that's very hard to duplicate in a digital world. And it really worked well that you could see and have such low threshold contact with other teams, and also joining in their discussions and knowing what the Jedis were explaining to them and what you could need of it. So it was, yeah, I think Lorna said it in the chat, and I think that is most also a good way to conclude. It's a great story about necessity that drove this innovation. We needed it because we needed to have like 1,500 people in a space collaborating on challenges and really collaborating. So the people were not only working on their own challenge, they were also helping each other out because there is so little expertise in some fields.
Is it an idea to test this for SenseMakers?
I have a SenseMaker space.
You have a SenseMaker space already?
Yeah, it was in the last newsletter.
All right.
All right. But
I should start reading
It's
things.
difficult to find it though. I get it every time I go in there. I can't find it.
The SenseMaker, that's true. That's one of the.
I found it once,
working on it.
but I can't find it again.
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
I hope that is highest on the next priority lists. Is that we want to be the search function is still very difficult.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that is because I'm always very critical, Rutger, and because once you're in there, the expectations only go up, and you don't really realize that you're in an alpha world, that you're allowed as one of the really early onboarders to experience it growing, to see where it's going. But being in an alpha world also means that some of your biggest wishes you have to wait for a little bit. But they're working on
talk about them. Talk about them, because I mean, most of the stuff we want do not work or are not there yet. And and this is the scary part, but it's also the exciting part, right? So we are developing in the open but naked.
Yeah, and I have already done part of my presentation. Jeroen was there in Momentum, and it works really nice. I think, well, the experience is a bit better than here in Zoom, but I was a bit scared to do this meetup in Momentum while few people have experienced it yet and know how to navigate there. But we will definitely do some in the future at Karijn.
Yeah, it should be nice for this meeting with one or two lectures. It doesn't matter too much, but the other regular meeting,
yeah, the interaction,
where you can actually walk around and look who is doing what, is really annoying.
But as well as for the people new here, we also do specials. So Gijs did a course on Python the last year, and we're moving now
perfectly fine,
to MicroPython. And then it's really, it's better than these spaces, because you can also, from screen sharing, really collaborate and like Miro boards.
Yeah. So something we like to have is screen sharing.
No, that is there.
It's there. All right, hooray.
It's there. There's screen sharing, there's Google, there's Miro. So it is originally meant for collaborating. So not the partying part, but some have developed a chess game already in Momentum. So I'm still looking for an opponent to play chess there. So I think let's get back to that, Karijn. Also to be considerate of people's time, because we took a lot of yours, Rutger. Thank you.
That's again, thanks for having me, Manon. It's great to, as you started, that we know each other for so long already, and that we are still collaborating and sharing ideas and exchanging this in discussions, and that you thought of Odyssey as interesting for this distinguished group of people. I think it's very nice, and we look forward to hearing all of your suggestions, feedback, and brutally honest opinions and whatnot to build this thing. Again, it will be open sourced. We expect it around summer, and then everyone can use it, can build with us. So yeah, we're really excited to learn from you all.
Well, we will be honest in our feedbacks as always, and really happy to have you.